and then you need to use that person page of paper to do what you are doing. So I actually got more on those parts, but looking at articles or whatever PhD studies of people relating to the specific discipline that I was writing in my PhD was very difficult. So what I did was I linked, like I said, I linked them to other fields, and I was able to get something. And it's quite interesting to do that, even though it's very hectic. It's quite interesting because you have to now read a lot of literatures that are not even in your discipline, but you know what you are looking for, you know the exact things you are looking for. It becomes a bit challenging, and you know how you want to link these to suit your work. And remember, if you are writing something that has not been written before, it becomes so interesting because your study is going to stand out there, and people will be very, and you can see that you publish a lot from it, and people will be very, very happy to get something that is linked to their work, maybe when they want to write their master's or their PhD as well. And also referring you back to how you need to start publishing. I also they PhD, you want to publish your first work, give it a shot. I wrote my first article from my honors work actually because my supervisor was strong. And then I had to go back to my honors work and extract something. And I gave my first shot of an article. So I think that is the first thing you have to do because you have already done more on your master's work. Your master's work is completed, is a full dissertation. You can get something from there. You can even get one or two from there. Then as you move on and as you progress, you can see yourself publishing aside your PhDs or your master's work. You can see yourself finding problems, reading literatures and all that, like Prof said. You can see yourself doing those things now because you have advanced more. Thank you.
You know, what you just said is very, very important. And now she has given us a very good way to do it. It's all about you linking what you are doing, going beyond your discipline, like she did in accounting education. Nothing is there, little is there. What do? You go beyond that. You look at economics, you look at statistics, you look at technology, you look at humanities. How can you be able to bring literature so that you can have a broader view of what you are writing? Perfect. And then my follow-up question was going to be to Prof. Montiwa. Now, when you have read all these things, literatures, how can you be able to build out research gap or research topic from reading literatures?
For Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the number of literature that a researcher can consult before carrying out a study. Prof. Kati was suggesting 25 minimum. I think that quota or that number of references is more tied to carrying out original studies. But the case is different. The case is different when you are conducting a review study, like a systematic review on a particular area of interest in your field. That one, most high impact journals require researchers to at least consult not less than 50 references. That is if it is a review, a systematic review study. So we need to bear that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, on that, you find out that, remember, we have different kinds of research. That's what we call a desktop research. Okay, I'm coming to you. A desktop research. When you are doing a desktop research, it's a review. you are doing a secondary research. So in that very case, you need to go very deep in terms of consulting your literatures and so on and so forth. Prof. Muntiwa, before I come to you, let's there's one hand up. Please, can you speak?
Okay, yeah. Me again from Botswana. My question is this. How about if one want to conduct a literature review and the research that is trying to do, there's no one who came up with those solution, or you are the first person to find, there's no information about what you are trying to do. What are you going to do now about literature review?
Okay, thank you. We have talked about that. Okay, but Prof. Muntiwa, please, can you elaborate on that? And also, in that space, how do you be able to craft out a research problem from reading literatures? Thank you.
Okay, Prof. Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me. My network seems to be very bad. Can you hear me, Prof. Chukwere and the team?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Prof. Muntiwa, we can hear you. Okay, it seems like we have lost him. Let me put this question back to Dr. Dixon Adam. Now, going from there, in that situation whereby there is little literatures to be consulted, and you are doing a desktop research. Prof. Muntiwa, are you there? It seems like we lost him. In that space, we need to consult widely, but you have nothing. In continuation from where Madam Lillian stopped, what do you do there?
Yes, thank you for this question. In fact,
hello.
Hello.
Yes, Prof. I got cut off. The network was acting up here. I don't know if I can still proceed or.
Yes. Please continue.
Yes. Okay. So in terms of where your research idea is, it's very novel, such that there is no one here who has done the study before. I think when you're looking for previous work on the topic, it has to highlight the existing problems, since there are no existing solutions to the problems. For sure, you cannot tell that that is a new problem, although it's possible, but in most cases, you'll find that that problem has already been there before. It's just that no one has found a solution for it. So I think when you read up on the whatever idea that you are having, then you should look at the problems rather than to look at how the previous studies has tackled the problems, because there's no such a study that has done that before. So I think that is how you can probably bridge the gap of not having literature at all around the topic. Then in terms of the problem or gap identification, this really depends on two things, or it has two spheres. The first sphere is, are you researching to make a contribution to knowledge, or are you researching to solve a practical problem? So as you read up on your literature, you should be able to check what's missing in the previous studies. Previous studies have done this and that, but what is it that is missing? And can your study be able to fill that particular gap? And that is how you can identify a gap. Another thing that can help you to identify a gap will be the recommendations made from previous studies. Certain authors will make recommendations for future research on a certain topic to say further researchers can look at this particular thing. So if it's something that you are having in mind and you spot that in one of the previous studies that it is recommended that you do research around that, then that is a gap on its own. And then another thing can just be a practical side of things. If you are solving a practical problem, then you know that you can get things like statistics to support. For example, if you are researching about a high rate of accidents or something like that, then you can just look at the news statistics and others just to support your problem. It's just not about academic research. It can also be other publications such as statistical reports and so on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is very interesting. You find out that academic research is not all about journals and articles, textbooks, and all the rest of them. That you can go beyond formulating your topic using existing phenomena around us, like the example Prof just gave, accident. You find out that there is little or no document on that, but you can see it over the television, you can hear it across the radios, you can see it on social media and many other TVs and other platforms. That can also constitute part of your literature review in terms of doing that. And okay, Prof. Dr. Adam, you have a very good thought which you wanted to address before now. Please, can you proceed on that?
Yes, I think the point I wanted to make or highlight is what Prof just hinted, that personally, a lot of studies in that area, I feel that is a no-go area for systematic reviews. But for original research, it's good to embark on a study that is not widely researched, because it will contribute to the novelty of your findings. And as Ms. Iwozu earlier said, it will count more in terms of citations, which is good for the growth of a researcher, whether young or seasoned. But I was also adding up to how to identify gaps in the literature that we read. One key area is what Prof hinted, that studies often suggest areas for future research, and that can be taken as a step in. But another way of also coming out with new research ideas or studies that you can embark on is looking at a different methodological approach, but looking at it using in a different lens. Probably the study was conducted solely using quantitative research methodologies. You can decide to maybe tackle the same problem using qualitative methodology, or probably a mixed methods study. That is also one way of carrying out a study, digging it from existing ones. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you can see that conducting a research with little or no literature is doable, but you doing it in a different way. Like the panelists have said, you need to be strategic in making your choices. You need to be able to, you can build your argument using non-academic content, which are also reliable. You can also build your argument using making references from different disciplines, and that is it. And also, you can also build your argument instead of doing it quantitative that has been done on that before. You can go a little bit further, doing qualitative or doing mixed method to do the same research. Because when you're able to do it from those two angles, from that very angle, you find out you can be able to get a different findings from the same population, or validating existing idea. And moreover, remember, research can be explored, or you can back existing issue. So whichever case you are looking at it, there is a need for literature review to be done. And from what we are talking about right now, we can see that starting up a research boils down on what? Literature review, because that is what can really inform you to understand the gap in the field. And many research end up with proposing new area to look at. When you're reading an article, at the end part of it, before your conclusion, most papers will always suggest new area of looking at this very study. That can also inform you crafting out a topic out of it, or whether thesis or whatever. And that can also inform you going forward. Thank you so much, guys. And then now, when as the panelists were talking, they made mention of methodology. And what is this methodology all about? How can it? Let's just get it quickly, because I wanted us to talk about something else. How does this methodology inform your research? Prof. Muntiwa.
Thank you, Prof. The thing is, methodology, actually, your topic will inform the research problem, or the research problem will inform the topic. The topic will then inform your research objectives. Then the methodology is there to draw up a map that can help you, or a plan that can help you to resolve the problem. And in order to resolve the problem, you have to address the objectives of the study. So that is all that the methodology is doing. It is just a plan of what are you going to embark on, or what are you going to do in trying to address each and every objective in your study, and in turn address the research problem. So all these things cannot be separated from one another, because the topic, the problem, the aim, the objectives, and the methodology go hand in hand. One thing that I can add there is from the statistic side of things, for those who are doing statistically based, especially quantitative studies, it is very advisable that you never go to finish your methodology stage without consulting an expert in statistics, because that is the person who's going to assist you to know whether that plan that you are drawing will help you to build that house, which is addressing each and every objective in the study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof, for that. Because if whatever we are talking about here and we don't really understand that methodology, we are more or less not going. But we are not going to dwell much on that. Remember, this platform, this club is going to explore on all these parts of research, both methodology and so on and so forth. We're going to dwell much on that. Now, let me just bring us back to what we have been talking about before now on the issue of literature review and methodology. That if we can cover this on this very section, we can say, yes, we have covered something. Now, Miss Lillian, Madam Lillian, please, what are the challenges you can face in coming up with your literature reviews or a methodology somewhere at any of those? What are challenges you can face in framing up your literature review?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Let me start with the challenges that you can face with your methodology, coming up with your methodology. Like Prof said, he said methodology is kind of showing you how you are going to go about resolving the research questions and your problem of your research that you have identified. So it becomes challenging if you are unable to identify how you are going to do that. So for you to know how to do that, you have to, first of all, like you said, consult your statisticians, those of you who are using the mixed method, which is collecting data from quantitative and qualitative, depending on the design that you have chosen. You need to first of all consult your statistician, because it can be challenging to know, to like find out the sample size, the population, whether the type of questions you are going to ask be able to address your research questions that you have identified for your study. So that can be very challenging. So if you are able to consult your statisticians to address this with you, that is the first part that you have gotten. And another thing that you need to also consider is what type of target population are you looking at? If your study has actually identified a problem that is actually looking at a large sample size, a large size of people, you can move and dive into a quantitative study, because you want to collect, you are targeting quite a number of people. So if you see that the problem and what you have identified are specifically looking into specific few number of people, like let's say you go to a company and then you are looking for the managers, you just want to say something to them, you want to find out the way to resolve your problem, then you are looking into a qualitative study. Except you feel like you want to combine this large set of people and extract a number of people out from them and then go into textual system, then you can look into the mixed method. So that part of deciding can be a bit challenging. So what will help you to resolve this challenge is understand your study from your proposal. Understand what is the nature of your study. Which people am I looking at? That's why it's very good to address your methodology from your proposal. You need to address your methodology very well. Which people you are looking into, review your literatures, check properly the type of people that you want to use for your study. Immediately you are able to identify the type of people that your study is going to look into, I think you will be fine in choosing the specific methodology you have to use to go about the data. I think that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much. Yes, let's go to Prof. Kate. She's back. My question is this, Prof. What are the challenges one can face in addressing, in finding literature review when writing research?
Challenges?
Yes.
Well, if the references are not available, like for most scholars, I think, like before when I was just starting, I really have difficulty with accessing those high-end articles, because those are in closed. It's not open access, so those are in closed journals, and you have to pay in order for you to acquire access. So that's one of the challenges. I cannot access high-end articles. Of course, it's not all the time that you can really see open access articles. As a starting as a newbie researcher. And another challenge would be it's difficult to find structure as well, because let's say as a researcher, of course, there are different kinds of literature, the way we review literatures, right? For example, I would want to have systematic reviews, or probably engage in meta-analysis, but then it's difficult for me since I don't have like the access to the journals in Elsevier or in other journals. What else? Scopus. So I cannot really have systematic reviews, and I don't have the software as well. So that's one of those, another challenge that hinders me from accessing from really doing a different way of writing the literature review. So systematic review is an interesting one, but I don't have the resources that I need.
Okay, thank you so much. So what we are talking about is you find out that doing research, literature review, whether for your thesis, dissertations, and research, it can be challenging for you to get access to your resources in terms of articles and documents that you need. Thank you so much. Now let me come to you, Dr. Dixon. Now, how can one be able to maneuver this kind of challenges? Dr. Dixon?
Hello, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
My question is this: how can, from what Dr. Kate just said, in terms of having limited resources and so on and so forth, and then we have seen that one can also have a challenge of not having enough literature and other. My question is this: how can you be able to tackle those things when you are doing your literature review? Okay.
But it's not open access, and you can't have access to that particular published article. What I mostly do in such cases is that I write personally to the authors of that article. That is what I've been doing. Sometimes they might have they might have the same articles, published ones in their personal archives, which is not open to the public. So sometimes when you write to them personally, they will be willing to give you the article, the published article for you to use for your literature review. So this is what I've been doing most times.
Perfect. And that is very, very interesting, because I have received some emails from people, from scholars, asking articles, and also on the aspect of remember, sometimes when you write after writing your paper, you don't put your full question there. I have also received emails, people asking, can I have the question that you use for this very article, because I want to adopt it, and so on and so forth. So you find out, if you ask, you can always receive for you to be able to do your research. Now, in this literature review of a thing, because we're going to end it in the next 7 minutes. Let's begin to wrap up. In the literature review aspect, how do you formulate your topics and your subtopics? Let me begin with Dr. Montiwa.
Thank you, Prof. In terms of the topics or the subsections, firstly, obviously, you will have an introduction. And in the introduction, you're just explaining what you are doing in the chapter and how the chapter is structured. And then from there, the subsections will really depend on the discipline. I don't want to lie. Yeah, I've seen in other disciplines, they go deep into the literature, but with us, the quantitative people, we don't usually go that deep. But one of the general applicable sections that one may have is to look at, probably have a section of previous studies on that particular topic that you are looking at, and just discuss what the other studies have done so far, and what you compare the works that are existing already with your current or your proposed study, in order to find out how your study will make a contribution to the literature. And then I've seen in other disciplines, people will also be in pursuit of, for example, justifying the inclusion of the variables that they are looking at in that particular study. what they call rationalizing the variables. They will also be working towards getting a theoretical framework, something that they can work around in trying to solve the problem. So, and then obviously in the summary, you will pick up the trends of in previous studies, and also you will highlight what's missing in previous studies. You will also highlight if there is anything that you are adapting or adopting from the previous studies that you are going to use in your research. And I think, like I said, it varies from one discipline to the other. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you so much. And then over to Mel Lillian. Now, after you have read all your, in 2 minutes actually, after you have read all your literatures, how can you be able to build your headings from what Prof. Muntiwa just said, and your headings and your subhead? Because you find out sometimes students find it so difficult for them to, what can make up my headings on this literature that I'm writing?
Yes, like Prof just said, it's let me just add to that. It's, you can use your research questions. You can go back to your research question and just have a look at your research questions. Sometimes you can have 3 or 4 research questions. If you have your introduction, you can state the theory you want to use, and then you start reviewing your research questions. And make sure that your research questions are actually, there is a gap that you can draw from other reviewers. You don't just write Prof. These, you don't just write Makwena 2014 said this, that, this person. You just put literatures here and there, here and there. You need to see yourself having a voice kind of coming out. And if this person say this person say that, this person say this, so what? How does it relate to your study? So you need to see your voice coming out, not just having copy and paste things. So I would say just use your, like it varies in different disciplines, like Prof said. But in my discipline, we use research questions as a roadmap to addressing our literatures. And after reviewing the research, you find out that when you're doing the research question, you will even go broader, because in that specific research question, you find out that there are a lot of things you have to come up with in that section.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm gonna give over to Prof. Kate a minute, because we are wrapping up. So now, when you have built your headings from what she said right now, you can build your headings and subheadings through your research questions or objective. Reason being that through that, when you are able to address your research questions and objectives, when you are doing your data discussions, you have more better data to literatures to analyze, to support whatever you have found out. Now, in that very space, can you be able to how do I put it? Can you, when you are discussing this, when you are applying, when you have discussed all your topics and your headings and subheadings, and then you go to your discussion part, can you be able to, how extent can you go in terms of supporting your findings with the literatures? In a minute.
Well, it's the same way with all other studies, that for your data, for your discussion part, that you really need to support it with the studies or with the related literature. So it's the same way with the conducting the literature review as an article. To what extent? Well, as much as you can be able to answer your research purpose, and if it can already satisfy your research objectives. So because I cannot really say, like, I cannot really exactly point out how many literature reviews or how many studies will be used to support your results section. But then again, yes, just like you're doing, even the literature review has its own structure. You have the research objective, you have the framework if possible, you have the methods as well, and you have the results and discussion. So it's the same way with all other articles. If you're going to use the literature review as
Okay.
an article.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Dixon. Now, in all these things we have talked about extensively on literature review. Now, what can you tell anyone who wants to write a literature review? What can the person look at to the loopholes in doing literature review in a minute?
Oh, okay. Conducting literature review is quite rewarding when you don't restrict yourself in terms of the years. What I have seen in the literature, research, books, and so forth is that the literature that you consult, 70% must be current studies, published articles in the last 5 years. So we're in 2021, so combing from like 2017 throughout. But there are other seminal published articles that they are crucial, especially in any field of study, which you have to consult. But you do that, you cite those ones sparingly. You have to draw more on current literature. So this is something that we should bear in mind when we conducting literature reviews. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. Muntiwa, for your opportunity. I know how busy you are, but you made it. Prof. Kate did something. Thank you so much for availing yourself. And then Dr. Dixon and Lillian, thank you so much, panelists, for this wonderful opportunity to share your knowledge on research.
Thank you.
And we look forward in engaging you in the near future, because this platform is going to have a continuous exercises and teachings and webinars. So we look forward in seeing you, in having your time in the future. Thank you so much for your time. And that's what I can say from my own end. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Joshua.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear panel.